Good evening. It's Monday, May 9th, and this is the annual required budget hearing that, again, we're required to hold as per state regulation. This is an opportunity for us to present the budget that we're going to be asking the community to vote on about a week from now, when we have our May 17th budget vote and also trustee vote. People in the audience, if you have any questions after the presentation, please feel free to ask them. Otherwise, you should have already received, or you will be receiving in the next couple of days, a newsletter that is produced by the school district that gives you an overview of the budget, the increase, which is very minimal, and what you can expect with that investment. And again, anytime between now and the budget vote, if you do have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with myself or the superintendent or any of the board members. We'll be happy to either get you the information or at least point you in the direction where you can get that information. And again, next week on May 17th, the polls are open in 3 different areas or 3 different locations in our community, and we just ask that you do go out and vote. So with that, do I turn it over to you, Dr. Wilson, or go
No, we'll go right to Jim. This is his show.
Okay, basically what we have for the budget hearing is a shortened version of the presentation that we've been doing. We've done presentations to the board at least 3 times. Each of the presentations are on the website. There's additional information. We do have this document, which is out on the website also, which is the part of the presentation we did before, includes the revenues and the expenditures. Also, in the offices in each of the buildings in the library, there is a thicker document. It includes this one, but also all the required documents that the state has us put out, including things like the salary disclosure, the property tax report card, some expenditure information on special education, regular education, and also test scores and what have you. It's a fairly thick document. We can make copies if anybody in the community wants a copy of that, but if they just want to take a look at it, again, in the office of each of the buildings and also in the library. When we put the budget together, and we've gone over this, Carl went over it a couple of times, we take the strategic plan into account. Here's our mission, vision statement, preparing every student for excellence, and the strategic goals as part of that plan. I won't read those to you. Again, those are online also. Budget highlights. Wanted to include this slide because, again, the last 2 years we have been able to increase staff and enhance program. And what we're looking at for budget highlights, increasing the instructional staff 2.2 full-time equivalent, 1.0 full-time equivalent here in the high school, and that consists of a 0.4 math, 0.2 biology, 0.2 language, and a 0.2 art. Also at the middle school level, 0.2 special education, and an athletic director. At the non-instructional level, we're increasing the full-time equivalents by 3.2, and that includes a clerk here at the Tuckahoe High School Middle School, lunchroom monitors at Cottle, and also security, additional security at Cottle. Additional budget highlights, 2 co-curricular stipends to be determined. There was some question also about a stipend for JASCO. We did have a stipend in the budget which was undesignated. We have designated that as JASCO, so it was not an increase in the budget. It was simply a change in title from what it was before to JASCO. So there's a $3,500 stipend in the budget for the JASCO program. Writing Revolution program started this year. It's a $75,000 program. $45,000 is coming from a grant. Special education consultant. We are starting an allocation for real property taxes to address tax certs that refunds that we have to pay. And we are including an allocation in the budget, $70,000 to complete the CFAP grant, the auditorium roof. This is what the revenues look like. You can see there's actually a decrease in revenues from current year to next year. That's mainly because of the change in our appropriated fund balance, that last row there. You can see that we are looking at an increase of about $100,000 in property tax. We're looking at about a $100,000 increase in tuition. We do tuition students into the district, and we're looking at about a $320,000 increase in state aid, and a large decrease in appropriated fund balance in terms of our goal of moving that appropriated fund balance closer to zero each year. On the expenditure side, we're also looking at about a $100,000 decrease in expenditures year over year. That's about a 0.31% decrease in expenditures. And working with the Budget Advisory Committee, Finance Committee this year, we tried to go back and look at trend information for expenditures and line up our appropriation and expenditures a little more closely, and this is the result. Summary, we're looking at a $31.9 million budget, which is a budget-to-budget decrease of about $97,000, $98,000. The tax levy increase about $102,000. Very favorable numbers, and if you look at the last, or the past 4 years, so 5-year average, you can see our average tax levy increase 1.77%, very favorable. Our 5-year average budget-to-budget increase, including our decrease this year's, whisker over 2%. Again, very favorable. As Julio mentioned, we have our budget vote May 17th. We encourage everyone to come out and vote. Here in Tuckahoe, it's similar to other districts in Westchester and across New York State. Seems like if a district comes in under the tax cap for the levy, we're getting fewer voters, and that's been the trend over the last like 3 years or so. So I would encourage everybody to come out and vote, exercise your right. May 17th, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And the election districts are here, a little bit small to see, but they are on the website and same place they have been voting. And that's the budget hearing, unless there's any questions.
I have one quick one. So for those people who wouldn't be here for the budget, I know we always do absentee ballots. Do you have any information on that, Jim? Is there, I know Warren usually handles that.
Yes, there's actually, as Julio mentioned, there's a budget newsletter that's going out. It is in the mail right now. Probably people will be receiving it in the next day or so, and it has the information on absentee ballots. So that's, you know, everybody will have that information in advance. So.
I did get mine today too, so that's good.
Yep.
Okay.
I just wanted to also direct folks to the website. As Jim said, that the information is there. If you go to the Tuckahoe Schools website, to quick links, there's the first one up there is called the Budget Vote Info. And if you click onto the Budget Vote Info, it takes you to another page that says Budget Information. The first bullet after the title of Budget Information is something called the Proposed Budget for 2016-2017. It's labeled new. If you click on that link, it's going to take you to a 116-page document, which gives you all of the information that you could possibly want about the budget. Now, I believe that this is something that we have to submit to the state,
Yes.
but it is being made available to the entire community. And again, it starts off with my and the board's budget message that is part of the newsletter that is arriving in the mail. But it does have information about our 5-year budget vote history, the 5-year tax levy, enrollment, projected tax projected class sizes. It also includes a New York State report card giving the profile of the school and the district, and fiscal accountability supplement, costs of per pupil, and also special education costs, and as Jim mentioned before, administrative salary disclosure. So it's a very robust document that I would recommend people to access if you do have any questions about any of the things that are being proposed for the 2016-2017 school year. And I want to correct myself, it's a 112-page document, not 116.
We also have a budget video that, Gary, is our budget video on air yet? It is, good. When is that played? 3 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 11 o'clock, it's looped around, okay.
Great, thank you. All right, so with that, we'll close the budget hearing and ask everyone to please, again, come out next week and vote. Thank you.
Real quick, just.
Oh, sure.
No, if anybody had any questions.
Oh. No?
Thanks to Kathy, you can pick up, either write-in or pick up an absentee ballot no later than 4 p.m. on May 16th, for those who can't be in person at the budget.
Great, all right.
Okay.
Thank you. Good night. Oh,
Jim's
more?
got a doubleheader here. He's,
Okay, the strategic plan.
this is the finance
sorry.
aspect, strategic plan.
Okay, this is the last strand of strategic plan, finance and facilities. So basically, I just went through and updated the PowerPoint from last year. Our first goal, consider implications of enrollment projections and multi-year financial forecast. We talked to the Budget Advisory Finance Committee about moving forward with a more accurate, a more robust multi-year financial forecast, and it's something that Faith has been working on and will continue with Lee Lou as she starts in July, so you'll have a better document, a better tool to work with going forward. Our progress, we did have a demographic study in November 2014. We looked at the accuracy of that when we opened our schools this year in September of 2015, and for the most part, the projections were okay, with the exception of the kindergarten class, which is the most difficult to project going forward. We did have a larger class than originally projected, and we ended up hiring a teacher for that. So we did update that projection. We are looking at enrollment increases at the elementary, and that's something that I think the district will have to continue doing, updating the forecast as they go forward. We did look at past information in terms of expenditures, expenditure trends. I worked with the Finance Committee, Budget Advisory Committee, and as I mentioned before, we tried to more appropriately line the appropriations and expenditures. And our goal was to reduce this idea of the appropriated fund balance, and as you saw from the budget presentation, we were able to make a pretty significant gain in that area. And we have started updating the 5-year financial forecast to make that a little bit more accurate and a more useful tool. So going forward, that'll be another tool at budget time. B, the overall goal, report the district's compliance with financial oversight requirements. The Audit Committee did review the annual audit report. We met with the auditor prior to them starting the audit. We then reviewed the audit report. That then came to the board for review, put together a compliance plan, and sent that to the state. We did have a controller's audit that started last year, finished in the October of 2015. We followed the same procedure. We brought it to the audit committee first. We developed a corrective action plan that was reviewed with the board and submitted to the state. We do have a claims auditor in the district, reviews the warrants and presents those to the board on a monthly basis. Treasurer's report, the board gets a treasurer's report on a monthly basis, including receipts, disbursements, revenue status, expenditure status, budget transfers. And Faith did a good job this year in enhancing that report and putting in comparative information, so we have month-to-month comparisons from last year to current year, also year-to-date, and we have footnotes for any significant changes from one year to the next. So again, it's more disclosure, gives the board a better idea of where we are comparative, and in terms of planning, it assists in that area. Overall goal, community confidence and transparency in budget. Last year we talked about this, and I think the year before, actually, the Budget Advisory Committee did an outstanding job changing the process, budget development, and also the presentation. We continued that last year. We continued it again this year in terms of the presentations, disclosing information, getting information out, making it more understandable going forward. So we have continued that, and my recommendation would be to continue refining that and as you move forward. Budget calendar, we shared that with the board in December. We've had 4 Budget Advisory Committee meetings. Presented a great deal of information to the Budget Advisory Committee as well as the Board of Education and Community. We have a video, as Dr. Wilson mentioned, that's out on the TV channel now. We have sent budget newsletters out to people, and we have a lot of information on the website. So I think we've done a good job in terms of getting information out to people at this point. Plan D, overall goal, develop an annual report which identifies cost efficiencies and revenue creation. And a couple of these I'm very proud of. One, Carl should be very proud of this. We're increasing the number of non-resident tuition students. And that's a real help for the district. When we have space in a special education classroom and we can basically tuition a student in as a revenue for the district, and it doesn't cost us anything. We did the cost and benefit analysis last year and looked at that. And that's a real plus for the school. It's an additional revenue. No additional expense. We were able to refinance a bond that would save about $450,000 over the life of the bond. Again, what I've always tried to do is look at the non-instructional expenses in the district and try to reduce those or eliminate them so you have the money for the instructional program. That's why we're here. We do continue with our out-of-district transportation, BEP, Bronxville, Eastchester, Pelham, and Tuckahoe. It does save a great deal of money. If we were not participating in this consortium and we had a private parochial, a special education student that had to go to a placement, we may have to contract a bus ourselves and pay for the whole cost. This way, by sharing transportation, we're sharing the cost. So we may have 2 of our students on the bus and a Pelham student and a Bronxville student, and we're splitting the cost of that bus 4 ways instead of just one district picking up. So it helps out all 4 of us. We do participate in a workers' compensation consortium. The SWS is the Southern Westchester School Consortium Workers' Compensation. We saved about $30,000 this year. When you compare that to the state fund, we saved about $40,000 last year. So that program's been in existence now for about 15 or 16 years, and it continues to save money when comparing the premiums to the state fund. We did implement a printer management program in the district, which has saved us money. We secured copiers through BOCES service, got the BOCES aid on them, which again reduces cost. We do participate in cooperative bidding with BOCES, the data service and state contracts to again purchase at the lowest cost we can. We do purchase the fuel for the out-of-district transportation, the BEP contractor, because we don't have to pay tax on it as a school district. So again, it's a lower cost and helps out the districts in that respect. And we are looking at, as the board knows, an energy performance contract, which again would help with our carbon footprint and also save money where we are able to do other enhancements in the district. So number of initiatives going on. Safety and security. We do a safety audit. We have developed protocols. We have hired an architectural firm to perform building needs assessment, and that is part of our overall, one of the board goals is to have community input on the facilities. And one of the items that the architect, the firm that we hired, is actually going to do is a security audit in the district. So they'll be looking at things like, the vestibules and alert buttons and camera systems and card swipes and those kind of things that some of the other districts are implementing. We did increase security personnel at Cottle this year. We did upgrade the camera system. And added several new cameras. In particular, we have a couple up on the roof now for security as well as to reduce any vandalism on the field and what have you there. We've conducted lockdown drills. In fact, we had a lockdown drill today, the unannounced one at Cottle. So that went very well. There's a couple, every time we have one of these, we learn a little bit more and we address some of the issues that come up. So we do have a couple of issues that came up here at Cottle in terms of the auditorium, the doors in the auditorium. We have to look at the hardware on those to make sure that they're able to lock those. We do complete bus safety drills and fire drills in accordance with the Commissioner's regulation, and we do have our required evacuation drill that we do. I've been working with A+ Technology and Security. They came in and did a security audit. They looked at the building, and again, they're looking at things like camera, card swipes, any of the latest technology to assist us in security. I'm assuming that when you move forward with your planning for the capital project, that this firm will play a part in that in terms of the security. We did meet with the Eastchester Police Department not too long ago to talk about emergency alerts. We do have an alert system in place in the buildings now, and also giving them access to our camera system, so if there is an issue, they can dial in right from the station and access any of our cameras to see what's going on inside the building or outside the building. So that's an initiative that we're moving forward with. We did install CO detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. That's a new state regulation. Two ways to do it. One, they allowed us to do the detectors with a 10-year battery. That's what we chose to do. They're not tied into the system. The other thing you can do is actually tie them into your fire alarm system. So we are developing protocol. If one of these CO monitors go off, everybody in the building's not going to know about it. Only the people that are in hearing range from the monitor. So we are developing a protocol where if one of these detectors does go off, we're able to evacuate the building. Likely it's going to be pull the fire alarm, get everybody out. We've recently performed air and water testing. Dr. Wilson has sent information out about that, and I think we're in pretty good shape there. We are looking at additional testing as we're going forward, developing more of a testing protocol. A lot of districts are looking at this now. And we also have implemented this online compliance training. Carl's initiative through BOCES. It's a way to provide training, the required training for staff, and we're also, I don't think I listed it here, but we're also working on the compliance plans, the right to know, the hazardous communication standard, lockout, tagout, respiratory. There's a number of plans that the district needs to have in place, and if I'm on target, you'll be seeing those at the June board meeting for review and approval. Overall goal, ABI and the building condition survey. Actually, the ABI, the annual visual inspection, is no longer required. That's one mandate that got dropped. Building condition survey, still have to do that every 5 years, and from the building condition survey, you develop a 5-year capital plan. So that we contracted with ECG. They've worked on that for us. That is actually being submitted to the state this week. It was originally due, I think, in January, but they changed it to June, so we are getting ours in about a month early. We did contract with a part-time facilities coordinator. My recommendation obviously would be to continue that contract for another year. That's been a real help in terms of dealing with some of the compliance issues. We did update the CFAP grant, and Faith filed for reimbursement for the expenses that we've already had, and we have received those, the reimbursement now, and we do have an appropriation, as I mentioned before, in the budget to complete the grant and close it out. We also formed a school community facilities exploratory committee. That's not gone as quickly as I was hoping it was going to. We were supposed to report back to the board June 1st with some recommendations. I'm not sure we're going to be on quite that time frame, but it is an initiative that we've started and will continue going forward. And as I mentioned before, we did hire an architect to assist that committee in developing a needs assessment for the district.
Jim, if I can add, the architects are now in the process of going around the school and interviewing faculty and staff and administrators, and they're looking for ideas that they eventually, and based on their own observation and knowledge of what other schools are doing, the task then would be for them to prepare a report that would come back to your committee and then eventually to the board,
Right.
to help determine what plans they want to adopt, scope of projects and the like, so that while it is true, I know you hope to make more progress than perhaps you did, you have strategically put things in a good place so that the board would be in a position early in the new year, if not the summer even, to start planning.
Right. Yeah. The process is running. You should understand that. It is something that we put in place, and it is working, as Dr. Wilson said. I was just a little more aggressive. I had hoped to have the thing, wrapped up by like June 1st, and it took a little bit longer to do the RFP. It took a little longer to get the the interviews and get the architect on board. So the process. It's a lengthy process anyways. As Dr. Wilson knows, you've been in a number of construction projects, and I have also. It's a lengthy project to begin with, from start to finish on one of these. But again, I'd hope to be a little more aggressive in getting it done, but we will get it done.
You've done a
It's
lot.
It's just gonna take a little
Good-
bit
good
longer than we
position for next
thought,
year.
so. And then audit and compliance, report to the district's compliance with audit regulations. And again, O'Connor Davies, we actually went out for an RFP, so we do have a, as required by the controller, so we do have O'Connor Davies as our auditor. They audited the books, we reviewed the audit with the audit committee and then presented to the board. In October, corrective action plan was submitted, and controllers, as I mentioned before, controller's audit was completed in October. We reviewed that, and corrective action plan was submitted in December for the state audit. And that was it, unless there's any questions. So we've done a lot.
Thank you.
It's been a busy year. As you can see, there's still some work to do. Lee, there's still some work to do.
It's in your inbox.
Well, Jim, I think we've said this before, but we can't thank you enough for, the work that you've done for the district over the last couple of years. I think one of the concerns that we've always had with hiring an interim is whether or not they're actually gonna be, diving deep into the job, and it's very clear that you've embraced this district as your own. And while you and I might be the only ones interested in printer management programs and subsequent savings that come, with that, I certainly recognize, we recognize, and I'm sure the community recognizes that those savings there, result in our ability to increase AP course offerings, pay for professional development that, we think that has been lacking in the district for some years. So we're very grateful, for your service to the,
Thanks.
and also you, Dr. Wilson, for, providing, updates of the strategic plan. And again, I think one of the concerns I've had with the strategic plan is actually people using it and helping to guide the district's program, helping to guide the development of the district's budget, and clearly that has been embraced by the administration and by the faculty and by the staff too, and so we're really grateful for that. I just wanted, is this a new model smartboard that we have here?
Yes, we've been doing the presentations on a little pull-down screen and shooting it with a projector, and it's, talked to Ellen, and we are piloting this
Great.
now, because we are looking at updating smart boards in the classroom. Another project that we, have been working on, this is the Smart School, the Bond Act, and updating equipment. And so this one we are piloting, and so you may see that around at board meetings going forward.
Great, all right. Well, does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, with that, we'll close the hearing, and again, thank you, and again, ask everyone to please come out and vote next week on the 17th. Good night.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jim.